Hello, mathematicians. Today you are going to create bar graphs and pictographs to show data. I want to take a moment though to talk about this word data because I keep using it and we keep seeing it, but we haven't really talked about what it is. Data is a fancy way of saying information. If you take a survey, which means you ask people a question and they choose their answers, all of their answers are your data. That's the information you collected. So I asked you all what your favorite colors were, and the votes that you gave for your favorite color, that's our class data. That's the information we have about what you voted for. We can take that information and we can display it on different types of graphs, and that's exactly what we are going to do today. In your books today, you will make graphs to show favorite colors, but I pulled some data from my class last year to show you an example about how you can use graphs to show data about favorite types of pets. So here we go, let's get started. All right, so what you're going to start with today is a chart that looks just like this. Now remember, your graphing today and all of your things will be using favorite colors, but my example will be a little different because I will be showing you how you could do this for favorite pets, but all that's changing is the category. Everything else will stay pretty much the same. The category and the numbers will change. All right, so the first thing I need to do is decide on my title. All of my data, all of my information shows what people voted for their favorite pets. So I made my title, Our Favorite Pets. Then I need to put the title of the categories at the top of the chart. All of the things that people chose were different types of pets. So my categories all show pets. So that's what I'm going to put at the top of my chart. Then I need to list the different pets that people could choose from when they voted. When we did this poll last year, the choices were dogs, cats, fish, and lizards. Then I want to fill out the chart to put the number of children who voted for each type of pet. You will do the same thing on your chart, but you will use the numbers that I give you for favorite colors. So your numbers will look a little different and your chart will look a little different. 8 students last year voted for dogs. 6 students voted for cats, 1 student voted for fish, and 2 students voted for lizards. Now we can take all of this information or data and put it onto different types of graphs. Let's start making a picture graph. Remember, a picture graph uses pictures to show data. And I know there's been some confusion about this, so pay close attention to how I use pictures today. I'm going to need to look at my chart to remember how many people voted for each category. But before I use any of those numbers, I want to go ahead and set up the picture graph. I start by adding a title to the top, and I'm going to use the same title from before, Our Favorite Pets. Then I want to fill in the 4 categories, dogs, cats, fish, and lizards. The last thing I need to do to get ready to create my picture graph is to set up a key. I need to decide what picture or symbol I'm going to use to represent each vote. So today I decided I'm going to use a heart. You can use any picture or symbol you want, but you want to make sure you keep it simple because you're going to have to draw a lot of them. So you don't want to have to draw something super complicated over and over. You want to pick a simple symbol like a shape or a letter or a line or a dot or a smiley face, something simple. All right, so I have my heart. That's my picture or my symbol that I'm going to use. And then I need to decide how many votes each heart will represent. For this graph, I'm going to say that 1 heart equals 1 vote. Then I put the symbols or the pictures onto my graph to show how many kids voted for each category. So I can see from my chart that 8 students voted for dogs, so I'm going to fill out 8 hearts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm showing that 8 students voted for dogs. I can see in my table that 6 students voted for cats. So how many hearts do you think I'll put next to cats? If you said 6, you are correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 students voted for cats. 1 student voted for fish, so I only need 1 heart there. And finally, 2 hearts to show that 2 students voted for lizards. This is a complete picture graph. I used words to show the categories, but I used a picture, a simple picture or symbol to show each vote. I want to show you why creating a key is so important. As you get older, you will start to see graphs that are picture graphs that are a little bit trickier. They might look something like this. I could change my key to say that 1 heart equals 2 votes. If 1 heart equals 2 votes, that's going to change how I fill out my graph. To represent 8 students voting for dogs, I only need 4 hearts because 2, 4, 6, 8 votes for dogs. How many hearts do you think I would need to show 6 students voted for cats if each heart equals 2 votes? You might have counted by 2s to find out that 2, 4, 6. I need 3 hearts to show the 6 votes. I'm going to jump over fish for now and go to lizards. I would use 1 heart to show the 2 votes. And then for fish is where it gets a little tricky because only 1 student voted for fish. So I don't need an entire heart. I actually only use half a heart. This is more of what you will do next year in 3rd grade and beyond. In 2nd grade, you're going to see graphs that use 1 picture equals 1 vote. But I wanted you to see why that key is so important and why we need to pay attention to it. Let's move on to bar graphs. Bar graphs are different because they use bars to show data. But before we create anything with our numbers, again, we have to set up the graph. We start with our title, and I'm going to use the same exact title because I'm showing the same exact information, our favorite pets. I want to fill out my categories. As you can see today, we're creating a horizontal bar graph. So this bar graph goes from side to side, which means I put the category names on the side of the bar graph instead of underneath. That's a little bit different from the vertical bar graph. My categories are dogs, cats, fish, and lizards. The last part of the bar graph that is super important is the scale. The scale in a horizontal bar graph will go on the bottom to show what each box represents. So if I start at the first line here and I jump 1 whole box, that represents 1. If I start at the first line here and I jump 3 boxes, that tells me that measures 3, just like a ruler. Now that I have my graph set up, I can put in my bars to show how many students voted for each type of pet. 8 students voted for dogs, so I want my bar to reach all the way to the 8. It must be a bar that goes from the 0 all the way to the number you're trying to represent. For cats, I'm going to draw a bar that starts at the 0 and goes all the way to the 6. Fish starts at the 0, goes to 1, and lizards starts at the 0 and goes to 2. That is a complete bar graph that uses bars to show data or information that we've collected. The last task you'll have on this page today is to write a 2-step word problem. Yesterday, you practiced some 2-step word problems, so you probably have some ideas in your mind about what you can make your word problems like. Here are a couple examples I came up with. You can look at either graph or the table to make your word problems because, again, the data is all the same. The numbers are the same on every graph. Here's the first one I came up with. How many more kids voted for dogs than fish and lizards combined? I knew that I wanted the person solving my word problem to have to add fish and lizards together. So I decided to write a comparison problem where they would compare dogs to fish and lizards combined. The two steps would be first, they would have to add fish and lizards, and then second, they would compare that number to the amount of dogs. Like I said before, the graph you look at doesn't matter because your data, your numbers should be the same on both of your graphs using the information you put in the table that you copied from the PowerPoint. So you can look at either graph or the table to write your word problem. Here's another example. If two kids who voted for cats change their vote to dogs, how many people will have voted for dogs? For cats? This two-step word problem has to do with students changing votes. If you're having a hard time coming up with a two-step word problem, I recommend this one because it's pretty simple to write. Pick a category that you want people to change their votes from and pick a number of votes that you'd like to see changed. Then you can ask how many voted for one category and how many voted for the other category. To solve this, someone would have to take the total number of votes for dogs and add 2 new votes, and take the total number of votes for cats and subtract the 2 switched votes. Let's review the different graphs we made today. Both of these are examples of bar graphs. On the left, we see a vertical bar graph where the bars go up and down. On the right, you see a horizontal bar graph where the bars go from side to side. Both bar graphs have everything that bar graphs should. They have titles, categories, a scale, and most importantly, bars showing the information. All of these are types of picture graphs. They have titles, categories, a key, and symbols. The top graph uses hearts, the bottom left graph uses pictures of books, and the bottom right graph uses smiley faces. All of those symbols are just fine. Finally, that key is super important because we can see on the book picture graph, 1 book equals 2 books in their graph. So 1 picture of a book equals 2 books. So when you would total up this data, you would have to count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Eric read 14 books this month. All right, friends, that's all from me. Today you are going to do all of those things that I just did, and I know you will do an awesome job.